Welcome back to another episode of the Sabre Roundtable. That's right, the Sabre Roundtable, no longer the Royal Roundtable.
For a second,
and we took out podcast.
For a second, I thought you were going to say Royal Report or Royal Roundtable.
I can tell when I do all the plugs at the end, I'm going to mess something up. I'm going to say all the old usernames, but the Sabre Roundtable.
Yeah, no more podcast.
No
drop
podcast.
The podcast.
Drop the podcast.
It's like when Facebook dropped
it's
from
like
their name.
Justin Timberlake and the Social Network. Just Facebook.
So much better.
So much better. So much better.
Rebrand went off without a hitch. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we got a lot of positive feedback on it. I was very pleased. So
Did go good.
Thank you everybody for the kind words, and for those that are just listeners of this podcast and saw this random new pod show up in their on their homepage. It's still us. It's still us, not the Royal Roundtable anymore. Just the Sabre Roundtable, and on our socials we have rebranded from the Royal Report to the Sabre Report.
And we're verified now.
We are verified.
We are verified
now,
yeah.
Yes. Slaves to Elon Musk's X machine.
That's right.
Filling his pockets.
As we should be.
Why don't we give John, why don't you give a little reason on why we switched?
I was about to say that too, yeah.
Well, it was it started out as a long-term thing. I always kind of figured one day that we would have to move on from the name. When we first started, I think we're coming up right now on the 3-year anniversary since we began the account, since Ryan Hagen over at BST asked us if we wanted to start doing a Sabres account. As did JP.
Not a part of any of these conversations.
JP asked me, and then
I was.
Asked our good friend Derek, and JP asked him if he wanted to join as well. And then we were off a little bit over a year and a half later. Christian randomly sends a tweet into our Twitter group chat that we have where we just send hockey stuff. And it was just a tweet from the Royal Report. I don't even remember what it was about. And then JP and Christian, who were living together, JP turns to Christian after he sends a tweet. He's like, Jonah and Derek run that account, right?
I had no idea. Absolutely no idea. I was left in such a dark place for a long time. Like, to the extent where I did not know that some of my closest friends were running a Twitter account. But either way, that's, it's water under the bridge. I'm not upset about it anymore. You know what? We ended up kicking one of the other kids out, and we brought me in. So
that's right. And it wasn't too long after that I approached Ryan and asked if Christian could become a part of the team, and I said he could come in under the title of meme specialist. And
right.
Man, what was the first?
Social media.
What was the first tweet you hammered out? Was it the?
It was the Devin Levi tweet.
The Devin Levi tweet.
Yeah. It was the Family Guy Levi tweet.
Yeah. So the first, it was when, back in like spring of 2022, we thought Levi. He didn't end up signing that spring, but we wanted him to.
No, I think it was in 2022, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Was it?
Yeah, because he didn't sign that spring.
Real man, it's only been that long?
Yeah.
Oh man. I thought it was a lot longer than that, but
just that video of Stewie.
Yeah.
Ringing up Levi.
It was a banger.
It did bang.
Got me into the club here, so
yes, it was. It was a good interview.
Yeah.
But
and now we're thinking about firing Ryan Hagen. After all this time, we've come full circle.
But to bring it back to the beginnings back in October of 2020, you got to remember for the origin of our name, what was going on in the Sabres world at the time. Royal Blue was coming back.
They had just announced maybe like
a month prior. They showed the video of them going around in the jerseys, and it was almost like we were almost hopping on the wave. It was the Royal Report, Royal Blue. So that's where that name came from, and it was a good time, good couple years, gained a lot of followers, started a podcast,
Yeah, it's been a little over a year since we started the pod, and we started at in Cape and Hall at UB. First meeting didn't go off so well.
Nope.
It took us about an hour and a half just to get the audio, and we had to switch audio softwares from whatever we used before to now. But finally got it working at the end of our rental, and we just decided to do a little, little rant.
We got it going.
Unreleased rant.
Yeah, we got it going.
But then, then we met again, a few days later, and we got
Picked
the first
up from
episode
there.
out. Yeah.
Right around this time, training camp was picking up, and then we were off.
Yeah, making our hot takes, our predictions. Jonah said Eric Comrie was a dark horse for the Vesna,
We've had a lot of highs and lows on here, but
No, I've had my share of lows, too. Don't you worry.
But it eventually got to the point when this season ended that I had brought up the idea of possibly switching the name, and I remember Christian was pretty supportive of it. JP not so much.
JP liked the alliteration too much. He really liked the 2 R's. The Royal Report. But you know what? It was a smart choice to rebrand. It was. I feel like this could really take us to the next level a little bit.
It's cleaner. I like it.
It's
clean.
And we're more direct as to what content we cover, because sometimes when you look up Royal Report, you get like the royal family.
There's a and there's a royal I don't know if it's a podcast, blog, whatever. It covers the actual royal family, and we don't exactly associate with that country.
I think the real royal family's sitting right here at this podcast table.
I would have to agree.
But yeah, I'm excited for the rebrand. I'm excited for
really liked how the logo turned out.
Fantastic
both of them.
job,
Both
Jonah.
of them.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you everybody for all the support with the rebrand, and here's to greener pastures. Here's to more growth from here.
Absolutely. And I will give I want to give a big props to Jonah, because he is the engine behind this brand. He did all of the logo rebranding. This was his idea initially. So I just want to give a shout out. Thank you, Jonah. Thank you for letting me come on this podcast and, just
letting you come on, dude. I'm not going to
rant.
I wasn't going to shut the door on you.
You almost did.
I was going to say
a year and a half ago.
I don't know if I could do an hour and a half of me talking to myself every week.
That is true. You know what? That's true. Yeah, you need us. We are assets, Jonah. We are assets to your brand. All right, let's get into the Sabres talk. What we got?
We do have a lot to digest. We almost recorded 2 days ago, but I did a rain check on that. I had to catch up some work for school. And there would have been a decent amount to talk about then, but we waited 2 days, and I figured, training camp would start up. Maybe we'd have a Dahlin extension in 2 days, and we didn't get that, but I think we got a lot more than we bargained for initially.
And I feel like we had no Sabres news in forever, and then all of a sudden these last few days have just been jam-packed with stuff. Meaningful and not meaningful, but there's been a lot of news.
Just today, there's a podcast worth of news.
Yeah.
Just in rumors and everything.
Yeah, we might be here. Wow, we might be here.
Yeah. Grab a coffee if you're listening to this late at night.
Grab your morning coffee
Grab a coffee. Breakfast is ready. Let's go. We got Sabres news to talk about.
Well, I think we should begin first. Quickly go over the Prospects Challenge that happened last weekend. Just for reference, we are recording this on Thursday night, so I don't know if something major happens on Friday. This will be outdated pretty quickly, but this happened last weekend, and I'll be honest, I was out of town last weekend, so I didn't catch. The one game I did catch live was the Pittsburgh game, which probably leaves me the least to talk about. But I did rewatch the Montreal game. So that's me. I did not rewatch the Devils game. I was not able to catch that.
I watched the first game. Well, I rewatched it because I wasn't able to watch it live. And then I caught parts of the second one.
I just saw some of the highlights, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, we were all busy this week. And if not, we definitely would have gone. But we just
all
had stuff going on.
I was gonna go Monday. Me and JP were talking. Well, I was mentioning to JP we should go Monday night, and he was like, "I don't think I can get out of work in time." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's at 7 p.m." He's like, "No, it's at 5." And I'm like, "Oh, that's random." It was the last game of the day too.
That's a tough time to have a hockey game, 5 o'clock on a work night. But I mean, the first game looked pretty good though. Who looked good to you? I thought Isaac Rosén really stuck out to me.
I think Rosén is definitely probably the MVP, even though he only ended up playing 2 games. But Yeah, the first game against Montreal, it was definitely, from what I rewatched, it was definitely like sloppy. It looked like 23 guys that had gotten together, maybe practiced once or twice, and then just got into a game. And that's what it looked like to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely sloppy, but I mean, there's a lot of positives. Like, I couldn't say there was anybody that like didn't look good. Like, everybody who's supposed to look good pretty much. Like, Rosine, I think he was, like you said, probably the most impactful player. Kulik did what he did. He probably didn't have as good of a tournament as he wanted, but I mean, he still scored 2 goals, so he still did that. Savoy looked really good. And I thought Benson looked all right in the first game, but then he got better. I mean, it was his first pro game.
From what I watched in the first game, to me, it looked like it almost reminded me of Peyton Krebs. Like, it's a higher level of hockey, especially with how dynamic and how he's a pure playmaker. He's got to figure out like what can he get away with and what can't he get away with at the I guess not NHL level, but he's getting there.
Yeah, it's not that he was keeping up. He was forechecking. He wasn't being impactful.
Oh, and he, from what I watched in the Montreal game, like, he was great defensively.
Oh yeah,
like he is super good on coverage. He's always back checking. Like, his motor is obviously insane. It's as good as it's been hyped up to be. And I remember seeing a few good plays from him that night.
Yeah, definitely. And Savoy looked really good. I mean, up until his injury in the third game, which is really unfortunate.
That's just such a tough blow.
It was such an unfortunate injury. 10 seconds into the game, and you just kind of get blindsided going full speed to the net. I thought he originally got hurt by going into the boards, and I'm like, he didn't hit the boards that hard. And then I was like, oh, he got steamrolled by that defenseman that was standing in front of the net. But it doesn't look too serious, which is good. But he'll be out for start of training
Yeah,
camp.
if we want to touch on that for a moment, when Kevin Adams addressed the media, he said they're keeping him off the ice. They're optimistic they can rehab it and avoid surgery. And Adams said specifically today he thinks this was the best case scenario, which is kind of he's still going to be missing a few weeks. So I guess it does kind of put it in perspective. The only thing I will mention is I don't know if we ever got confirmation, but that was the shoulder he injured. Was it last summer? I think it was last summer.
It was the year he got drafted, yeah.
So last summer he was rehabbing, or
because he didn't play in the Prospects Challenge last year.
I think he did. He didn't go to development camp. I think that was
maybe it was dev camp. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was sitting out. He was rehabbing an injury after the WHL playoffs. I don't know if it was the same shoulder. It wouldn't surprise me, but. Yeah, that's kind of where it's at right now. So Adam said he'll probably be back closer to the end of training camp. So that stinks.
It's
for
a
him.
tough blow.
Yeah.
I mean, not that he probably had a really good chance to make the team, but he did have a chance. If he showed out, they would have taken him. And now it just kind of screws up everything. And now we still don't know if there's confirmation on what happened with their petition to the WHL or whatever.
I don't think they're going to get that.
I was just about to say, like, I feel as though if he had a good camp, they could have even made more of a case just taking him on an NHL roster and then, sending him down to the AHL if need be. But, I don't think they're going to get that Shane Wright exemption.
No, you got to remember, first of all, the WHL owners very greedy.
Mm-hmm.
They bend the rule. I found this out because it had been brought up. So Zach Benson, it's going to be like the same thing with him next year.
Great.
He is one game short of playing 4 seasons.
And it's because of the damn
I was going to say,
WHL.
you got to listen to this. You have to play, was it 4 seasons in the three or 4 seasons in the WHL, but one season, for it to count as a season, it has to be 25 games. And in the COVID season, do you want to know how many games they played?
24.
24 games. And Zach Benson played every single one of those games. So he's going to be one game short.
That should be an
year.
exemption.
Yes,
I mean,
it should be.
It should be, right?
They should get that next year.
You would hope so. It's just, I mean, the WHL knew what they were doing.
Yes.
There. It's simple.
But those owners, pretty greedy. And you got to remember, they're moving to a new they're in a new state. They're in Wenatchee now. You're going to want to bring new fans into the building. Hey, here's one of the league's best players. They're going to want him back. So yeah, it stinks for Savoy.
Yeah.
I was thinking today, when, not to jump ahead here, but when those lines came out, And in the one session, and Cousins and Peterka were with Roseanne, I was kind of thinking, that's great for Roseanne, and he very well might have still been there, but I almost do wonder, would Savoy have gotten that first look if he hadn't gotten hurt?
And then on what was it? The blue team, Kulik was with.
Kulik was up with Middlestead and Tuck.
Mitson Tuck.
So yeah.
Did you see Kulik put on 17 pounds in the offseason? He was already
big. That was the big thing.
Him. This kid's what? He's 19, 20 years old. He's younger than all of us. And this dude is probably, if he makes the team, he could have a legitimate case to just be a force out there. Honestly, though, it would probably come down to one of Roseanne or Kulik, unless they go outside, which we'll get to later. But I'd be really excited to see Kulik take Quinn's spot. And then maybe have Roseanne and Rusek rotate in occasionally. But, you could send them down after they get their 8-9 games over the course of how many games you play.
They will certainly get the chance to earn a roster spot. I mean, out of anybody, if they earn the spot, Kevin's going to give it to him. I think that. But does anybody got anything else with the Prospects Challenge? I got a few more things.
There is 2 shout-outs I wanted to give because we're mostly focusing on the forwards here. Nikita Novikov.
Yes, I was going to say.
I know he had 5 assists. Well, obviously he ended with 5 assists because they got shut out in the third game. He had 5 assists through the first 2 games. Did it take it away?
No, I think one of them was a phantom assist. It was
phantom?
It was like Benson's assist, and they gave it to him or something.
Just juicing the best players. But he was, from what I watched in the Montreal game, he's very, very steady. He is very much like a Samuelson light.
Christian will like him. Big boy. He was laying the body.
A big boy?
Yeah. Good in the corners.
Nice.
Got that big reach.
I think, isn't he hurt right now, too?
No, no, they held out Nuchev. He was the other. Nuchev was the other guy. Yes,
no, Nuchev played.
He didn't play in the third game.
Oh, in the third game.
And then
okay.
Adams said today he was he's nursing something day to day.
Nuchev, I thought he was kind of fun to watch when I watched him the first 2 games. I mean, he
very raw.
Yeah, very raw. Like, he's good around the net. Had some really good chances, but I thought he looked fun. Very raw, but we'll see what he could do because he could be a hidden gem.
And then the other shout out I did want to give, Ryan Johnson. He looked very, very good. Like,
as he should.
As he should. He is essentially. I mean, he's got his doctorates. He's got a 401k account. He's pretty much. He might have been the oldest one at the tournament. What is he now?
22.
He was drafted in 19, right?
He's 22.
22 years old.
4 years of college. He's got that Roth IRA set up. He's ready to go.
Yep.
But he looked really, really good. But I'll say he looked really, really good, but I was watching for him. He was actually the guy I was most interested to watch because I was seeing a lot of stuff about him when I was missing the game. And I went back to watch, and he's not the type of guy you're going to notice very much, but it's a good thing.
I wonder if we could see a little J&J action.
A little Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah, on the back end this year.
That would be fun.
This would be very fun.
He did look good, and I was surprised. Like, he was like starting some rushes, and he was skating up the ice. So I was impressed.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I heard, I think it was what Appert said, is that he's not going to be, at least at the tournament. They weren't developing him to run the power play because he has no future to run a power play in the Sabres. He's got Owen Power and Dahlin in front of him for years. So I did like to hear that. They're trying to develop his whole game, his penalty kill, his defensive game before they really try and develop his offensive side more.
Yeah,
smart.
That's
smart.
Yep, they're going to need that from him. Any other takeaways here?
I actually thought Scott Ratcliffe, however you say his last name, the goalie, I thought he looked pretty good.
Radscliffe?
Yeah. I think he's
Scott Ratcliffe.
Yeah, I think he's basically the top goalie prospect in our
he's Tobias Lennon and nobody else.
Exactly.
Tobias
so
Lennon.
The ghost of Eric Portillo, maybe.
Lennon wasn't even around, I don't think, because
he was hurt too. He was hurt as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
One more guy. Shout out Tyson Kozak.
Oh yeah, he did good too.
He had a goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had one more.
Always hanging around.
Oh, I thought Lindgren does what Lindgren does. He was good in the offensive zone, good in transition, but still pretty bad in the defensive zone. I think that's it. I think that's all I got. I'll say Nadeau didn't really impress much. And I thought there was one other player, but at least Nadeau because, Sederquist looked solid, but I mean Nadeau was with Kulik and Roseanne, and I don't think he did much, but we'll see. We got a whole year of him with the Amerks to develop.
I think Tyson Kozak's gonna be my new Linus Weisbach. Like, I think I moved on.
Linus Weisbach is still there.
Dude, he shaved all his hair. He's
did?
bald. He's got a buzzer now.
He's an interesting looking man.
He's barely hanging on in the AHL now. He's buried.
No,
I wouldn't say that.
He's
an
not
AHL
gonna be
player.
out.
Well, I feel
He's an
bad. He
AHL
probably won't
player.
make it. Probably won't work out for him here.
No.
he's for sure an AHL player, but
His best-
he's been very good for them.
He did nearly crack. I shouldn't say he nearly cracked the roster last year, but I remember he had a good camp. He was playing with. I think he was playing with Skinner and Thompson.
He's one of the better
Yeah.
players in the
Yeah.
Amerks.
Yeah.
He's just an
Yeah.
AHL player. Brett Murray.
It's the
Yeah, probably.
it's the perks that come with having an absolutely loaded prospect pool on forward.
Yep.
But that wraps up the 2023 Prospects Challenge. The Sabres finished 2-1. I think it might be their 27th consecutive year in a row of finishing above 500 at the Prospects Challenge. They always seem to come out on top of these things. I don't know why. I don't know if there's a reason, but yeah. So with the Prospects Challenge all wrapped up, I guess it'll bring us till today. So training camp is open. The Buffalo Sabres practiced today twice.
Yeah.
We got lines. Things happened at KeyBank Center today.
It's exciting.
It is so good to be back.
It's great to be back. We've been talking about this for way too long.
It came up fast.
It really did. It went 0 to 100.
But when you're going through pods like we are, it's just like I feel like every episode can't wait for the season to be back. Can't wait. I'm just like, it's like damn, it's just starting to. It's been dragging for me at least. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's been like finally back, and I'm ready to start the regular season. I don't even want to see the preseason. Let's just go right. Let's dive right in. Let's go.
Adams addressed the media. Granato addressed the media. Dahlin addressed the media. Very loaded day. Got our Sabres filled today.
Yeah, we did. Rumors and all.
So I'll start this off by I'll go through Kevin Adams' presser since that is what kind of kicked the day off. I think he was with the media at around 9:00, and I gotta bring up this bar that he dropped. The window is open in Kevin Adams, and I gotta say I really loved how he said it. He said, "Don't be afraid to say it."
Mm-hmm.
We have this expect the window is open. I love
They're
it.
taking their pictures. Like 3 players had. I'm excited for playoffs this season.
I believe it was Jordan Greenway.
Tage.
Tage.
I think it was Tage Thompson. I think it was Krebs was the other one.
Yeah.
Krebs. Yeah.
Can't wait for that to get memed on.
Oh, I know. I still remember that. What was it? Dahlin got interviewed in like 2019. I think it was after his rookie season, and he was like, "Yep, we're making the playoffs, 100%."
But I do like the quote because, like, realistically, like, it could be anybody, but we are on the up and coming. It's like anybody can see it, and you're not going to like this comparison. But it's like, think about the Bills when we made it with Josh Allen the first year in Houston. Like, and the Bills are there, and this is, the first year of the Sabres window opening. That doesn't mean contenders right now. It's just saying, like, these next few years, and right now it all starts. Like, we're making our push now. The window is open.
I'm ready for playoffs. It's been a long time coming. I'm ready for
been
playoffs.
a very long time
and I know we say that every single year, but you know what? I think this is finally the year, I sound like a broken record, but this is finally the year.
Adams also gave us another update on Jack Quinn. I guess it wasn't really much of an update. He didn't really tell us anything we didn't already know, but it does sound like Christmas is, at least when he's going to be skating again. Who knows if he'll be game ready. But that's kind of, I guess, the other big news on that front. I would say biggest of all from Adams' interview, he did say that Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Powers, their agents, have been intensifying talks pretty recently. And I think with Dahlin, we kind of can go into that a little bit. Lot to cover there. But with Owen Power, that was I would say it's a bit of a surprise. I kind of assumed
It's a wild card.
I was assuming that one was gonna wait a little bit. I didn't
Mhm.
think that one was very imminent. But I guess I'm sure the Jake Sanderson contract that had a lot to play into it, given that it kind of gives Power a price range. I can't imagine it'll probably be within the $8 or $9 million range, but that's just my guess.
You think he's young enough for like a I know the bridge deal's kind of
It scares
phased
me
out now.
A bridge deal scares me, but it kind of makes sense.
It makes sense, but it's also like this guy was first overall. You could already tell he's progressing to be a star in the league. Why bridge him? Get it done now, right?
I was
Lock
thinking
him
about
up.
this today. Like, imagine like when we bridged Dahlin. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think anybody in their right mind would have extended him long term at that point, because that was after Freddie Krueger kind of messed up his whole career, and he was awful with them. But just imagine if we did sign him for 8 years, then we probably would have got him for like $8 million. Like, it'd be an absolute bargain right now. And I think that's how it'd be with Owen Power. Like, I completely see the logic in bridging him, and I wouldn't blame him if they did. But if you did sign him long term and you got him for, I don't know, $9 million, and he turns out to be the player we think he's going to be, it will be an absolute bargain for like 6 or 7 years of the contract.
But especially with like the cap going up and everything, it's like, yeah, it could just make it even more of a bargain in the future. And I think this organization has kind of learned its lesson with Sam Reinhart in the way we just like, prove it deal, bridge deal, prove it deal, and then he's just like, all right, I'm fed up with this.
Just held his hand right into free agency.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I think with Power, like bridging him, it wouldn't be because, like, I don't think it would be because there's questions about his play. I legit think it would be to save a bit of cap during a window. I think
That's fair.
because when his contract starts, Tage's contract will have kicked in, Cousins' contract will have kicked in, Samuelson's will have kicked in. Obviously, it's not a huge thing, but $4 million is $4 million. Dahlin kicks in at the same time, which is going to be between 10 and 11 million. And biggest of all, you've still got Skinner's contract going. So I think if the scenario does come to the point where Power is bridged, I think it has more so to do with waiting till that Skinner contract finally ends, because that was a 8-year deal when he signed. And that was 2019. So how many years we got left? 4? Are we halfway done?
We're at the halfway point. He's got another 4 seasons.
So Power has this year left on his entry, and then then if you did a 3-year bridge, that would bring you to the end of Skinner's contract.
That's true. Yeah,
That's a good point.
You could bridge him into Skinner's deal.
So I think that would be their reasoning if it were to happen. I'm 90% sure. Like if it were up to Kevin Adams, he would
He would
sign.
just be like, get it out of the way.
He would sign Power to an 8x8. Bam. The thing is, it's just it almost makes no sense for Power because his value can only go up.
He should not sign an extension. I think it'd be really dumb of him.
I also do like the fact that this regime is willing to talk contract extensions during the season. We've been burned in the past by regimes that did not do that, and it didn't really work out for us very well, so this is also good news to me.
So I think now is probably the time we should jump into the Dahlin contract. The thing that's kind of been lingering, I think,
A lot longer than everybody thought.
Yeah, but you would have expected it to be done by now. Am I worried about it? I wouldn't say I am. I know Samuelson was extended the night before opening night last year. So was Granato. I think Tage was extended on like a random Wednesday in early September. They're weird with it. I think the same thing happened with Eichel all those years ago. It was like a few days before opening night.
Risto, I think, was like right before opening night too.
There you go.
I think it was like end of September.
So I don't think it's really worried. I don't think he's disgruntled at all. I just think they're just trying to hammer out the I guess the minute stuff, the bonuses and clauses and all that. But I guess we can kind of jump to the big part of this story, and that's what Andrew Peters tweeted out about a week and a half ago. And he said, apparently Rasmus Dahlin wants a 5-year deal, but the Sabres are holding strong at 8. And he says he's not happy it's not done, as he's been told. So we've been hearing for what, 3 to 4 months now that it's 8x10, 8x10.5, whatever it is. And suddenly Andrew Peters comes in here with a 5-year deal that I'm pretty sure they said on the podcast that it would be in the $11 million range.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, any of the other sources who have reported on the contract have stayed strong with what was basically originally reported. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. Like I wouldn't blame Dahlin for either of those. If he wants more money, he probably deserves it. If he wants, less years, he wants to do what Austin Matthews does, because then it's going to reset his market again. Like, I also wouldn't blame him, but hopefully he does sign that 8-year contract to help.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it, if I'm being honest with you. I know like every player says this about the organization, but they both said that they're adamant about being here, and I'll believe them, and I'll believe it till I see it. So I'm very confident it'll be done in the next few weeks.
Well, and the one thing I heard today was that, you hear like, oh, players should take, a hometown discount. Like, why should they not? Why do teams just think they could get players for under market value just because they want to be at a certain team? Like, you still got to pay them what they deserve.
Not to mention the cap is going up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to adjust, because even just in a year when the cap's going to go up $5 million, if Dahlin signs for 10, he's already probably going to be underpaid in a year or two.
Yeah. He's probably also talked to Kevin. He's like, hey, you absolutely stole a contract with Tage. You probably stole a contract with Cousins. You're not getting me.
I will
All
say
right?
though, he was
more.
he was very generous with the bridge deal. You don't see a lot of bridge deals for $6 million.
True.
Yeah.
But I do want to bring up Chad DiDomenicis of Expected Buffalo. Him and Anthony Chandra did a Q&A on YouTube the other night, as in I think last week, and the Dahlin talk inevitably came up, because back in June, Chad was the one reporting that it was supposedly going to be done by July 1st. Obviously, it didn't happen. Do we know why? No, but on the podcast, he kind of broke down the timeline from the very start and why he thought it was going to be done by that point. And basically, he said Dahlin's camp met with Adams at, I want to say it was the Combine and then I believe the draft. And it seemed like they were getting pretty close to a deal then. And then the person that had told him about the Tage contract the year before was reporting to him that they were getting close on that deal. So that's why he thought it would be done July 1st. Obviously, that date passed. We didn't get a lot of news for a while. But he was very adamant that and he's still very adamant that that from what he's heard, it's an 8-year deal, somewhere around $10 million. And I think the part that was probably most interesting to me is that when Peter sent out that contract, he said that 2 people reached out to him that day and said, basically, you're good, about like the info he sent out. And that nobody has told, any person that he has talked to has told Chad that he is wrong with what he's reporting. It's really just the Peters report, and that's it. So it's his word against Peters. And he's holding strong at 8x10. That's the other side of the Dahlin convo. That's kind of what we've been hearing for 3 or 4 months. I don't know what it's going to end up being. I don't have because like as JP was saying, it would make sense if he signed like an 11x5, something like that. He gets his money and he's able to get another big contract in 5 years. But at the same time, an 8x10 would be more ideal. He is kind of the face of the franchise here, and it'd be nice to have another steal of a contract.
It'll get done. I think we're gonna do all this talking, and then in a few weeks, it's just gonna drop, and
it'll
get done. I got no doubt.
It'll drop tomorrow night.
Yep.
when the contracts get
Mhm.
right after we
Mhm.
record. That's when
Yep.
we're gonna get news that the contract broke. Wouldn't it be crazy if it broke during like a recording session?
Yeah, I should probably check Twitter right now.
That'd be
Did it break
sweet.
right
I
now?
just
I was-
checked. I saw nothing.
I was thinking about that earlier today. I'm like, what if we're just talking about it and then you just like, oh, there it is.
You know, we always record these late, so you would think we're like safe from any news dropping.
Yeah.
But you know, one of these nights,
Something's gonna happen.
he's just gonna drop a trade with some West Coast team, and that's why it would drop at that moment. But as of now, Dahlin still unsigned, Power still unsigned. We'll continue to monitor that. Hopefully at least the Dahlin contract gets done, because it is kind of annoying. You know, you've been hearing about it. I mean, geez, you thought it would have been done 3 months ago, and it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just more like, hey, it'd be nice if we could get this thing done. So I think we can jump to, if we want to jump to, what do you guys want to get into first? The practices, or do we want to maybe go over what Don Granato said first? Some of the stuff that he said.
Why don't we do Donnie? Then we could do the lines. Then we could get to the
Mhm.
fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. There's not a ton to take away from Granato's presser. He liked Dahlin and Clifton, so we'll can touch on that with the lines. But he said they're gonna mix pairs a lot, and the other big thing was he would love to keep Middlestad at center.
That's right.
That was probably the biggest one that I took away. As for the first one, I do want to touch on what he said about the pairs, how they're gonna mix that a lot, and I do want to bring that back to what Adams was saying at one point in his interview, and he was talking about him and the scouting staff and how basically they want to build a roster that gives Granato options. And then Granato said in his presser, he was saying how they have options. So I think that's kind of like the theme here. They're building a lineup that can give them different options. And I think the best way to illustrate that is like, I guess late last season, late last season when they played that back-to-back against the Rangers and the Devils. I remember Stillman played against the Rangers, and he didn't have a good game, which was probably part of the reason he sat the next night against the Devils. But another reason he probably sat was that you were inserting Jacob Bryson into the lineup against a much quicker New Jersey Devils team. Like, you know, not a very physical team, just heavy on the forecheck. You got to be quick there, whereas the night before you're playing the Rangers, a Gerard Gallant coach team. It's going to be more heavy, and that's why you would need Stillman. So that's kind of, I guess, the best way to illustrate this. This is where they want to go. They want options. It's a big difference between playing the Lou Lamoriello New York Islanders and Lindy Ruff's New Jersey Devils. They want options so they can play against each of those teams.
I completely agree. I think that is kind of the future of hockey too. You know, even if you're going to have guys rotate in and out of the lineup, you want to be able to match up against these different play styles of teams, because as the years progress, there's just more and more diverse, you know, systems, and you know the way teams set up their PK and their power play, and you know just the team setup in general. I think you need options nowadays. Sometimes you need the nights when you got the big hitting defenseman, and then other nights you need the speed on the back end. So
it's just game planning.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's gonna start to develop towards that more, and also like with the pairs mixing. I mean, we already did that a lot. Like Granato does that a lot, even during games. You know, like it would go from Dahlin and Samuelson playing most of the game, then Dahlin and Power. Even towards the end of the year, Dahlin and Yoki. So I think no matter what, like everybody's gonna be all around the lineup throughout the whole season. Like I bet at some point Dahlin will be with Eric Johnson. Like it's just gonna be all over the place. So I think start getting used to each other now, and then once they're in a rut and a pair isn't working, they could easily switch it, and there's gonna be no issues.
Yeah, don't panic if you don't see Matthias Samuelsson playing with Rasmus Dahlin, because as the offseason is progressing, I'm getting, I think I'm coming to the realization that, like, I feel as though we're going to see Matthias Samuelsson maybe slide down the depth chart a hair. Nothing crazy. He's not going to get scratched.
I don't even think it's sliding down the depth chart. He's just
Get
breaking
bumped
up
down,
the big three.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
you would call it. And it's better off. You got to go. It would be tough for other teams to them to go from Dahlin to Power to Samuelson, and just the whole game.
Yep.
But I guess that's probably a good transition into the lines themselves. I mean, the defensive side, there's really nothing groundbreaking. Dahlin was with Clifton, which I thought was very interesting. I really like that. Granato had some good things to say about that, and we'll get a good look at that in preseason, I'm sure. And Power was back with Yoki Haru, and then was it Samuelson with Johnson? Was that the pair?
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah.
I don't think like Brian Johnson or anything was moved up. I think it was pretty basic.
So that's basically it for the defense, and then obviously you get to the fun stuff with the forwards. At the top of it, Jeff Skinner, Tage Thompson, Zach Benson.
That's a fun line.
That's
That's a fun line.
Yeah.
Hey, get him involved. Get him with the top players.
See what he's got.
See what he's got. You never know.
And he's probably already the best defensive player on that line.
That is crazy to think about.
And then you had Cousins, Peterka, and Isaac Roseanne.
That one I really liked because that
could be it.
that's realistic.
That could be a replacement line.
That could be the line.
Yeah, because obviously someone needs to take Quinn's spot, and like I think Roseanne's gonna be there during training camp. Kulik's gonna be there during training camp. Probably Middlestat. So that one's interesting because that's realistic. Obviously Benson's not realistic. Like this one is realistic. So
Kulik, Middlestat, and Tuck.
It's an interesting line.
Yes, it is.
It's kind of like a paper mache type of line, you know. I just don't really see Mitz and Tuck together, and then you throw a guy who hasn't played in the NHL yet into that. It's just kind of like a mixed bag, but it's interesting.
I think it brings us back to Granato's point about keeping Middlestat at center, that he would want that. And I think that's interesting because now you've got Tage, Cousins, Krebs, Middlestat, Jost. 5 potential centers, and he wants Middlestat to be one of them, it seems like.
Those lines do make me wonder. Like, obviously, like, there's 2 different practices, so that's kind of why they were doing this. And to just, see looks. It almost does make me wonder, like, if they really do want Middlestat to be a center, maybe we're, talking about the wrong lines, like, in the last few pods. We were saying maybe Middlestat will be with Tuck and Skinner. Maybe just, Tuck moves down, he's with Middlestat, or maybe just Skinner moves down, he's with Middlestat, or something like that. Maybe they're not going to move Thompson down, they just move someone else down. I don't think we talked about that at all, to be honest.
Yeah, and it'll be something to watch. We'll see what Granato does. I think we talked about it on here. He loves to tinker, and I think if it were up to him, he'd rather spread the scoring out and not be so top-heavy at points, but we'll see how it goes. The Tage, Skinner, Tuck line, it'll be hard to keep them apart. They are one of the best lines in the NHL. Offensively, yes. And then for the other lines, nothing really groundbreaking here. Gergensons was with Kozak and Weissbach. Sederquist was with Richards and Nadeau. And then back to the first session, Greenway was with Jost and Olofsson. That very well could be a real line on opening night.
Yeah,
It could be.
That seems like something.
I don't think I'd like that line
I don't like
at
that
all,
line either.
but it could be.
Kisakov was with Biro and Okposo. Brett Murray was with Krebs and Rusek. And that wraps it up. Those are the other lines. Very, very preseason-esque lines.
Yeah.
Just throwing stuff at a wall. I think definitely the most interesting to watch for me, Peterka, Cousins, Roseanne, because that is a tryout. If Roseanne does good on that line, that will bode well for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what happened last season during training camp. Peterka, Cousins, and Quinn looked really good, and it stuck.
Yep.
I mean, not right. I mean, they stuck, and then they broke it up because they wanted to bench Quinn. But
yes, the forward rotation.
Forward rotation.
Oh man, I forgot about that. That lasted like a month.
We don't gotta get into
Granato was straight up lying to us. That was the
Yeah,
funniest
that
thing.
was weird.
It was just the young guys plus Asplund. Middlestat and Olofsson, they were exempt.
Yeah. I don't need to bring this up we don't got to talk about it a while, but just remember this is training camp. You know, Jeff Skinner could look really good on the top line, and then he gets buried on the fourth line. A few days later. So
Yeah.
it's still training camp. You know,
Just such a weird player to hone in on there. I don't know why he'd do that.
I don't like to number my lines either. I think
Yeah.
all lines are. You know who made up a good point about that? I was driving to work the other day and I was listening to DiBiase and White, and they were talking about the Kruger. They brought up Kruger for like a second because I can't remember what they were talking about, something with coaching, but they go, they were like, I didn't understand his infatuation with trying to balance the scoring. If you have a guy who scores 50 goals, or you have two lines of guys that score 20, and if you have one line that scores 50 goals, and you have two lines that score 20 and 30 goals, you're still getting 50 goals. So I don't know what you're talking about, Ralph.
it's true.
That's true.
But like seriously, like Roseanne could still have really good practices, and they're still gonna mix it up because they still want to see what else works.
Mhm.
So
No, it's a
you
good
know,
point.
Don't get too excited.
It's preseason.
We'll see what
Preseason is
happens.
BS.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That's why I just want to let's get right to the
The
regular.
Pittsburgh
season.
Steelers dominated the Buffalo Bills in the preseason. Now look what happened.
Yep.
So I think for the first day of training camp, it's a lot for the first day, but that basically wraps up for the Sabres. We'll see how those storylines kind of continue. They play a game in 3 days.
Yeah, they
Let's
do.
go.
I mean,
Finally,
wow.
Let's
It
go.
creeped up fast.
we are back.
So that basically wraps up the first day of training camp. Game on Sunday versus the Capitals, 2 p.m. Biggest game in Buffalo that day. And
At the same time, yeah, it's like at the same time. Jonah will be one of the few people who's watching.
I will be.
Watching
I'll
the
be.
Sabres.
I'll probably be clipping stuff, looking at. Honest to God, it might mean more than the Bills game.
I don't
I mean, it could be.
I mean, it's a week 3 matchup versus the Commanders.
Possible trap.
Commander-
I know I know
Possible
the
trap game.
Commanders have been pretty solid to start, but I don't know. Plus, there's gonna be like a hurricane in the stadium.
Yeah.
That's actually true. Maybe it'll get canceled. Then we could watch the Sabres.
I
There we
already
go.
said that the Sabres are going to save this city. The Bills fall off. I swear to God.
The
they
Bills are back. Okay?
I
They're back.
I never said they are going to fall off. I just said, listen, like, it's been shaky. This core is getting old. Like, they haven't been drafting very well.
This is why you're not on the BST podcast.
That's all I'm
We'd
saying.
be blowing you up right now.
They have not been drafting well at all.
That's just cap.
The last
Oh, boy, here we go.
Zach Moss in the second round, really?
He was in the third round.
Whatever.
Every single GM in the league is hit or miss with every single round. All
No.
right? That's how it goes. We also drafted Christian Benford in the 6th round. Dane Jackson in the 7th round. People don't
Trash.
talk about that.
Dane Jackson's
People
trash.
don't talk about that.
And I'm not saying they're gonna fall off. I still think they're gonna be a good team. But I'm just saying, guys like Poyer, Hyde, Trey White, right now is a shell of his former self.
Trey White has been fine this year.
He hasn't been what he was.
He has. Okay, I said this on the pod. You probably didn't listen yesterday or when we released it today. Trey White, Poyer, and Hyde have not looked the best in tackling, but they have not gone exposed in the secondary at all. Trey White has like barely been
He
targeted.
just looks like he's been a step behind is all.
He's still coming back from an injury.
Matt Milano is a dog
Yes,
on that defense.
he
He is a
is.
dog. And you know what? The D-line has looked fantastic.
Yes.
The D-line has been and when Vaughn comes back, oh my God. All right, moving on. We're getting
that
off the
wasn't me
Bills
this
talk.
time.
Did
That
we
was
kiss
Jonah.
and make up? That's the most heated.
Listen to the BST
exchange.
pod for more.
This is the most heated. That is the most heated exchange you two have had.
Probably, and it wasn't even over the Sabres. I'm saying is hey, the Bills have had their chances in the playoffs and they cannot get it done, and it's frustrating to watch every year. I rest my case. Not saying they're going to be bad. They'll be back this year. They'll be back in the playoffs. But they need to get it done because I'm sick of losing in the divisional round.
You're not getting an invite to the
he's-
BST pod.
All right, you hear that?
Sorry.
He's sick of losing.
Enjoy your technical difficulties.
Christian is sick of losing. Now back to our beloved hockey team that's in the midst of a 12-year playoff drought. All right.
Saving the city.
So, on to the fun stuff. The fun. Well, it depends how you look at it. Depends what you think of these players, because in their own regards, they are controversial, I would say. I guess we'll start with the one. We'll start with the one that's probably unsurprising, but still unexpectedly got brought up again. So that happened today. Darren Drager tweeted out that Patrick Kane, who I think is about a month out from skating again, is what he said. Still rehabbing that hip. He said that teams will be interested and name drop Buffalo by name. I know it's we've heard it before. I'm pretty sure Peters sent out a tweet a year ago saying this would happen. We've heard it over and over and over. Feels like every national outlet has been saying, "Oh, Patrick Kane's going to go back to Buffalo, back to his hometown, win with that young core." But this is where we're at right now. So another name drop between Kane and the Sabres. And Drager, I trust. I think he's pretty reputable, especially with the Sabres. I think he's one of the guys that actually has connections in the organization.
I'm not surprised at all that this conversation has been had. I mean, we've known this for a long time. It's like this is not new news to us. It's just, more fuel to add to the fire that the Sabres might be interested in replacing, they got a hole on their roster to fill. Maybe they go outside for it. Maybe they bring in Patrick Kane. And if this was 2 years ago, I'd be doing backflips over it. I'd be like, bring him on in, give him back the Brinks truck up, give him a 3-4 year deal, give him $8 million a year. But now I'm like, if you're gonna bring him in and you really want him, which me personally, I'd rather not. 1 year deal, $4 or $5 million.
I even think that's too much. I mean,
the thing is, it's like if they really want him, I that's what I'm expecting them to give him. At least I hope Kevin Adams has a staff around him that's smart enough to know this guy's past his prime.
It doesn't matter. It's like they're not going to hit the cap even if they wanted to.
But it's still an overpayment.
Yes,
but it's like it's like $4 or $5 million. If it were up to me, I'd be like, if you want to play for this team and this team you think has a legitimate shot at maybe making a run, maybe we could do like a 2x3. But I don't even know if I want to do 2 years.
Jesus.
No,
2
sorry.
years?
2 by, yeah.
No.
2 by 3.
No. God,
no, it would just be an experiment. I'd go maybe 1, 3.5, 1, 4.
I would
That's
not.
it.
I am not handing out multiple years to a guy that might not be able to
coming off a hip surgery.
Feel his hip. That surgery has ended careers before.
Probably already ended his, to be honest with you.
I don't know. It's like what we've said with Dallas before on how there's been, a lot of talks with Kane connected to Dallas. I think there's too much smoke. There's got to be some fire. Like, there's got to be some conversations had. I don't know if it's legit. And I was just going to say, like, I wonder, if Quinn never got hurt, if this would be a conversation. But Kane's going to come back, like, around the same time, isn't he? Like, he's hurt.
Well, that's the thing. He's not replacing anything.
Yeah.
He arguably has a worse injury.
Yeah.
And
I think it will be interesting. I mean, he was hurt last year, and wasn't he hurt partially like the year before? So maybe that's why he wasn't as good. So maybe he'll come back and be better. But
supposedly this has been lingering since I think the bubble is what they said. So 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
And look, I'll say I'm interested to see how he does after this surgery. I don't want to be the team that has to figure that out. Just to see, like, in a year with so much expectations.
You don't want to throw an experiment in here.
No.
And it just doesn't fit.
A distraction almost.
He's older. It's not like he's really a leader, and it's just not something we need. Like, he's kind of like a power play specialist at this point, not good at 5-on-5. And
we already have one of those.
Exactly.
Look, if his name wasn't Patrick Kane, nobody would want him. I shouldn't say nobody would want him. But it's like if they added, he's like Max Domi. It's like if they added Max Domi. It's just kind of a middle six, terrible defense. The most he's going to give you is, like, I mean, the debates over whether or not his actual impacts on offense are underrated by models or not, because the models will tell you they're just as bad, but models they might have a tendency to underrate playmakers. We don't know. I'm not smart enough to break that down. What I will say is, at his best, he's giving you 50 to 60 points. So he's an all-offense guy. That doesn't solve anything for this team. This team doesn't need 60 more points. And it doesn't work that way where, like, you're not going to bring Patrick Kane onto the roster. And let's say he has 20 goals. You're not just adding 20 goals to last year's total. I mean, obviously, with Jack Quinn's injury, that's obvious. But, I mean, like, if Quinn was healthy and you added Kane, you're not just adding 20 goals to this team's final goal total. It's He's taking ice time away from someone. He'd be on a power play unit where someone else could be. He's taking ice time away from someone, and it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, not with a team that has just so many forward prospects I would rather see thrown into that role, and he's just got so much baggage with him too. Off the ice, on the ice, I don't want to go anywhere near it.
I think it's also the hometown aspect that a lot of the fans around here that want him to bring him in. I think that's a big reason for it because, I mean, there's no doubt about it. The guy's been in the past, I guess you could say 15 years, he's been one of the best players in the NHL.
He's
consistently.
One of the best American-born players to ever play.
Absolutely. And you know what? The Sabres have been so bad, and I'm sure going back years and years before Chicago gave him that contract, they were like, what if we brought Patty Kane in?
How many times did I hear during the Eichel era?
Oh, we could bring Patty Kane
this
to play
could be
with
their
him.
chance.
This could be their chance to get him. We could go get Patrick Kane. We can go, like, it's perfect. We could have him play with Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart. We could have him play with Jack Eichel and Jason Pominville. We could have him play with Jack Eichel and Jeff Skinner. It's every year. They want him. And you know what? They've been so infatuated with the player, it's passed them by that he's way past his prime now. And now you're saying this in 2023, and you're like, let's bring in Patrick Kane. We could play with Tage Thompson and Dylan Cousins. I'm like, well, here's the thing, buddy. Now he's a shell of his former self. If this was 2015 and he was playing like his 2015 self, you have to pay him $14 million at least, especially with the cap going up. But like now it's like, you know, it's just how it goes, man. The years, they just pass you by sometimes. Like, could you believe Connor McDavid's already been in the league for 8-9 years? Or Sidney Crosby's been in the league for almost 20 years. The same with Ovi, Marc-Andre Fleury. It seems like yesterday, like Steven Stamkos was signing that contract in 2016 that the Sabres almost signed him to.
This is Kyle Okposo's 8th year as a Sabre.
Yeah, it's insane.
Wow.
8th year. I remember the day he signed that contract. It just, again, it's just, man, these years just flip by, and you know, sometimes if you don't keep up the productivity of players you like, it also passes you by because you look at old players and you're like, I mean, if you're one of those people who like the eye test, guess what? They don't pass the eye test anymore. But you just like the name at that point.
Patrick Kane, if he signs in Buffalo, it'll be cool for so many people. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, arguably the greatest U.S.-born player ever. He's got the cups. He's Showtime. It's Patrick Kane. People will freak out when they see him in a goat head jersey. It'll be cool for like 2 weeks. Or not even 2 weeks. It'll be fun for like 5 minutes. And then they'll play a game. And then you'll see this dude in the offensive zone. And you'll see him not back checking. And you'll see him. He's just he's a perimeter player. He's not even the dynamic Patrick Kane that he was. It'll be cool. And then the novelty will wear off.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be back here arguing about him for the rest of the season. And
well, he's taking ice time away from a Yuri Kulik or an Isaac Rosen.
I was just gonna say that, or even when Quinn comes back,
Or
like
when Quinn comes back.
he's taking someone's spot.
Then
I mean,
Peterka's rotating out.
who would I rather have, Patrick Kane or Victor Olofsson? You know, that's another conversation. But at the end of the day, it's just
that's like the meme of Pam from The Office, and it's like corporate wants you to find the differences between these two pictures. And
Yeah.
it's
They're
the same
exactly
picture.
the same.
Yeah.
At least Olofsson's younger. At least he's still got like a kind of he's not coming off a
Yes.
major hip surgery. And he's got a spring in his step. But
Yeah.
I mean, what, Olofsson's got one more year at 4.75. Would you give that to Patrick Kane for 1 year instead of having Victor Olofsson?
I don't know.
No.
I honestly do not know.
I do think it's funny, and I'll start to transition here. We've been talking about Patrick Kane way too long. I do think it's funny how we all say, like, you know, he wouldn't make sense because he's like kind of an all offensive player. And I gotta say, I think Trevor Zegras would be really exciting. Even though like he's another offensive player, but he's younger, he could still develop. Like,
And you only have to pay him $3 to $4 million according to the Ducks.
Yeah, that too. I think it's exciting.
Well, I guess that does bring us to the other out of nowhere rumor that the Sabres are thrown in. All of a sudden, it's 7:00 at night, and Sabres Twitter gets set ablaze because French reporter suddenly puts in his column that he's heard the Sabres have inquired on Trevor Zegras, or that they've looked that way is the translation. I should preface this by saying it was a French beat reporter. I don't know who it is off the top of my head, so I apologize, but you just got to remember that translations can always be funny.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know and if you look at the article, it translates, it doesn't even spell Sabres right, just because it just doesn't mesh. And so we could be taking something out of context. Now, Buffalo was definitely mentioned, but I just want to put that out there. That being said, the Sabres are supposedly in on Trevor Zegras. Zegras, drafted in 2019, 2 picks after Dylan Cousins. He's had 2 seasons in the NHL playing for god-awful Anaheim Ducks teams and known for his flashy goals, I'll put it that way. And now dating TikTok star Dixie D'Amelio. So that
for
is
real?
well. Yes. It's been a huge thing on
For
hockey
real?
Twitter.
Oh wow!
I know. I
didn't
just
know
changed.
that.
I just flipped your world, didn't
Yeah,
I?
I mean, I wasn't even I wasn't even in on all that book talk or
Yes.
whatever that crap was.
It was funny because I would see some of the tweets they pop up to on my timeline, and like the one was so funny. It was just a picture of her in public, and then you just saw Zegras' nose sticking out in like the end of the picture, and that's where people were pointing to as proof.
Well, if Zegras gets traded to the Sabres, I don't know if he's gonna follow him to Buffalo.
Who's got more superstar? Who's got the bigger superstar girlfriend, Josh Allen or Trevor
Josh.
Zegras?
Definitely Josh.
I'd say Josh, but it'd be cool to have Trevor Zegras on the team. But again, it's like you're not fixing any problems that are currently on this roster. You're just adding another piece to what you're already good at, which is all offense.
But I think the thing with Trevor Zegras is, okay, I looked at his numbers in his rookie season. He wasn't good defensively, but he was like in power, not good defensively. So like he's not a black hole. He's just, as a rookie, he wasn't great. And then this past season, black hole. That said, that Anaheim Ducks team was god
trash.
awful.
Trash.
And I did see a tweet going around today circulating that if you looked at his isolated impacts, they really weren't that bad. So it could just be a byproduct of the team. That team had literally zero talent. I honestly would probably not be able to name half that team. I know Zegras was on that team, Troy Terry, McTavish, John Klingberg was on it for a couple of months.
Gibson.
Obviously
Drysdale.
Gibson. Cam Fowler is like their best defenseman.
Yeah. Remember when the Sabres wanted him? The trade rumors were we wanted Cam Fowler. That was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Who else?
Drysdale, right?
Drysdale.
I don't,
Jamie
I
Drysdale?
think he was hurt last year for parts, so he didn't even play that much.
Hey, our goalie Gibson.
Was Derek Grant still on that team last year?
Probably.
And it was just
Terrible team.
I mean, they tried their damnedest to break some records.
Yeah. They tried for Bedard. They did not get him,
Yes, they did not. And I think that's kind of what makes it interesting. If we want to jump to like the Ducks perspective, or like the Ducks fans' perspective of all this, like what are they doing? That team has $16 million in cap space, and they're supposedly not offering him any more than $4 million. They just paid Alex Killorn $6 million for 4 years. He's 33 years old.
If you're the Ducks, you should be paying him like the face of the franchise.
He is. Is
'Cause
he
he
not
is.
the face of the
He's-
franchise
he
there
is.
right now?
He is.
That's why when that came out, like I could not believe it. I almost do think it's fake, just because that seems so absurd that you're not paying him more than that.
You could sign him to a short deal and then have him jump ship and go somewhere else.
I don't think he's a franchise player. I don't think he's a franchise star, but he is the face of the franchise there right
Mhm.
now.
Yep.
Honestly, he's one of the biggest faces in hockey because people know who he is. Obviously, he was on the NHL cover a few years ago. You make fun of his lacrosse goals and his trick plays all you want. That's the type of plays that'll grow the game.
They're fun to watch.
That's why he got on the cover. They are fun to watch at the end of the day. If nobody makes fun of Andrei Svechnikov for doing the lacrosse goal. It's because he's like a great, he's obviously a great player that like Zegras tries that stuff all the time. And that's why he kind of gets made fun of. But if he maybe was on a better team and was able to grow into a bigger role and just became one of the better players in the league, he wouldn't get made fun of so much. But serious, he's just one of the he's one of the NHL's premier marketing tools.
Like it or not, this is the direction the NHL is going in. You're just going to see more and more of these types of players, and it's a good thing. Just don't be a stick in the mud about it. Don't be a Don Cherry about it. Don't be a John Tortorella about it. Just enjoy it. Enjoy Kent Johnson going between his legs around the net lacrosse goal. Like that was the craziest goal I've ever seen in my entire life, and I couldn't stop watching it. It was fantastic. And you know what? Yeah, maybe the defensive metrics aren't good. Maybe old-time hockey people are like, well, that's why you need fighting, and that's why you need big hits and all that stuff. But listen, like, you want this game to grow. You want your players to get paid more. You want the cap to go up. You want to maybe eliminate some of the things that the NHL isn't good at, like where they place their jersey ads or anything like that. I mean, money helps those problems, and if you want to grow the game, this is the way to do it.
I also think if we got him, the vibes would just go up even more. Like we already have one of the highest 5 teams in the league, and I think it would only increase. Like I think he would mesh well. Like it seems like he's like a fun guy. You know, man, it would be really exciting.
I just can't believe, like, just to go back to like the Ducks' perspective, I really can't believe it's gotten to this point. Like even like. I don't know who wants what. I don't know if Zegras wants to go long term or if he wanted the bridge. I don't know what it is. I just can't believe they haven't given in yet. And I feel like they're going to, because I think that's kind of where this rumor stemmed from. It's putting pressure on them to do that now.
I agree.
But at the same time, how are you entering training camp and you can't sign this guy to a bridge deal when you have the cap space? Like, where else? It's not going anywhere else.
No. It is really ironic because last year we had the same exact conversation about another player, and it's very similar. Jason Robertson was same thing. He wanted an extension. Dallas wasn't giving it to him. Oh, he was rumored to the Sabres, and then he was signed a few weeks later. I think it's probably going to be the same scenario, but this does still seem a little different because Anaheim is awful. Dallas is a contender. And, you know, Jason Robertson is probably a lot better player than Trevor Zegras.
Smoke and mirrors.
So now we've got kind of all that said. What does a trade look like for Trevor Zegras?
Well, I think my thing about it is I don't believe they're offering only $3 or $4 million, but if they're truly only offering him $3 or $4 million, they don't value him as much. So I feel like the value wouldn't be as high, or it shouldn't be as high. So that's why I don't know, but I would have to imagine a first, I don't think one of our top prospects, maybe, like, I don't think we'd have to give up Benson, Savoy, Kulik for him.
I don't think I think in like a vacuum, like that would be fair, but I do think Adams would stay away from that. Like I think Benson, Kulik, Savoy, he's not doing that unless he gets like a guaranteed superstar. Whereas Zegras, he's probably not budging until you get to Roseanne, Oslin, kind of that crop.
Yeah.
And I think the thing with Zegras is, at the end of the day, he's an RFA. And like that's not great for value. And I don't know, is it going to be a sign and trade, or are they going to have to trade him and then negotiate a deal? And then that opens up a whole new can of worms. What does let's say the Sabres trade for him tomorrow. What is the contract for Trevor Zegras?
How many points did he have last year?
I think upper 50s. I think he's had 2 upper 50s seasons.
6 or 7.
On pretty bad Ducks teams. Do you pay him more than Dylan Cousins or Tage Thompson?
No.
I'm not saying should you, but I'm saying do you? With the cap going up.
No. You don't trade for someone then pay him more than your best player.
I'd give him a 3x5 or a 2x5.
Do you bridge him?
I could do 6. I'd probably.
I would bridge him. If you were gonna do a sign and trade, bridge deal.
I would think I would bridge as well. See where he is. See if he even fits into this core.
Yeah. Exactly.
I was thinking Ennis Weber in a second, but
let's say Zegras comes here. Where does he fit in? Where would he hypothetically fit into the lineup?
He's a winger, right?
He is a center.
Depends on who you
another
trade.
center.
But like,
You probably trade one of your centers back to the Ducks. You probably maybe Peyton Krebs.
I could see Krebs. Or
I could see
Middlestat.
Krebs as the
I
guy,
think Krebs.
which would stink.
Yeah. I
Because you're
Guess-
losing defense there too.
I just want to see what he's the guy I want to see what he does this year.
because I guess Zegras, he's more of what? Is he more of a playmaker? Is he
Yes.
more of a playmaker? Then I think you gotta get him with some goals. Like I could kind of see him with Cousins and Paterka. Like if we were to trade for him right now, like I think that would make sense.
It gets me excited, but he's like he's the type of talent where it's like, okay, this guy's good. He's really good. He might even be able to become elite, but at the same time, he's not a superstar. You're still kind of developing him, and are you gonna still develop him while you're with Paterka, Quinn when he gets back? You're still trying to get more out of Krebs, and not to mention all these young prospects you got coming up. I don't know. It just feels like a too many cooks in the kitchen type of situation.
And I feel like if you did make this move, that's your big defining move.
Is it?
That takes away Jonah's dream trade. I think that would be your big defining move. Like I
Oh,
can't see
man.
them making another big trade.
If
after
this
that.
cost us Elias Patterson,
That's what I'm saying.
It's not. Nope. I would rather wait, roll the dice. He's not even captain there. He is gone.
Yeah.
He is gone. It is
Yeah.
not happening. But what just a wild 24 hours.
Really?
Truly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was at 7:59 last night. We're gearing up for training camp. 15 minutes later, Trevor Zegras is a Sabre. And 12 hours later, Patrick Kane is also supposedly a Sabre. Just crazy. We are back in the fun season.
Yeah.
Giving us stuff to talk about.
Yes. So I think we should hop around the NHL really quickly, kind of start winding this thing down. Only a few things really happening in the hockey world right now. We did get an answer. We did get an ending to the Tomas Tatar saga.
Mm-hmm.
After all that talk, all that hype, after supposedly leaning east, Tatar ends up signing with the Colorado Avalanche at 1 year, $1.5 million.
For a guy who had what? How many points last year?
40
something,
48.
49.
Damn Avalanche. That's a good deal.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
1.15.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, well, there goes that pipe dream. Moving on.
Would have been fun.
It is what it is.
Recent captaincies announced. Braden Shen announced as the captain of the Blues. And Brad Marchand, new captain of the Bruins. The Rat King himself.
I wouldn't want to be captaining that sinking ship.
Did you see those new jerseys?
Mm-hmm.
They looked so good in the mock-ups. And then the real life, you saw the real versions, and you realized that they made that yellow into like
I was going to say.
a less saturated gold.
It's like a mustard yellow.
Yeah,
It's like a weird mustard
It
yellow.
looks like the Sabres 50th, just with like all the color taken out.
Yeah.
Looks terrible.
Looks like
Looks-
like a monotone gold,
Mhm.
if that makes any sense.
Brutal. And then we get to the big one. Mike Babcock.
Clown.
We are.
Who could have seen this?
It is
coming?
September 21st. This
How could
happened
this have
on
happened?
Sunday. This happened 4 days ago. He didn't even make it to the week of training camp. This one deserves a deep dive. Spittin' Chicklets about a week ago. All of a sudden, Paul Bisonet brings up that supposedly Columbus Blue Jackets players have been texting him saying that Babcock has been looking through their phones asking for personal photos of their hobbies and stuff. And this blew up on Twitter. Absolutely blew up. You had people defending Babcock, saying that this wasn't true, including their captain, Boone Jenner. Johnny Gaudreau went on 32 Thoughts with Friedman and Jeff Merrick to say that it was also not a big deal. And then you had the Spittin' Chicklets guys firing back. And Mike Commodore, who has always had some not so nice things to say about Mike Babcock. They were firing back, and supposedly Bissonnette was getting more texts from young Blue Jackets players and former players that had gone through the same thing. It was a mess. And then then the NHL launched an official investigation. And then an anomaly popped up. And the NHL found out that what they thought was just Babcock asking for personal photos turned into one incident where Babcock was looking through a player's phone by himself, or not by himself, but had the phone in his hand himself, scrolling through stuff, gave it back to the player, and then they left. That was it. He was just looking through their phone.
Without dinner.
And they concluded, and clearly something was about to happen, and then Mike Babcock resigned as head coach of the Blue Jackets.
It'll be the last time you'll ever see him in the NHL.
He is done. There's no way.
He's done.
See ya. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
He didn't even make it to a preseason game. They didn't even take the ice with him.
Nope.
There's been so many things that have come out about him. It's like, why are we even surprised? And why did the Blue Jacks even put their organization through this? Why did they even hire him? It made no sense to begin with.
It was always going to end this way. Like, not this specific way, but he was never going to last in Columbus.
Mm-mm.
He's notorious. He's probably the most hated coach in the NHL, like actual hated.
Especially
not Tortorella, oh, you're going to hate me as your coach.
Yeah.
This is Mike Babcock. He's just a scum of a human being. Just not a good
young
person.
Players.
Young players. He went to a rebuilding team. What were they thinking? Jarmo Kekalainen, why does he still have a job? Why is he still a GM of that team? Makes no sense.
Well, it's probably a blessing for him. So see you, Mike.
Yep. Well, I think that basically wraps everything up.
Yeah, that's about
I
it.
think there's one other thing. Jake Sanderson.
I mean, we kind of touched on it with the power stuff.
But we didn't give
Do we not
real
address
opinions
that?
on it.
We kind of brought it up. We mentioned that it happened. I mean, okay. It's an overpayment.
I needed to hear Jonah's. That's
it's
why.
So clearly an overpayment, but it's a bet on potential. I'll say right now he's not worth $8 million right now. But I mean, if Owen Power signed that contract, he's not worth $8 million right now. So it's kind of that thing. My thing is just I am not a believer in Sanderson. That I don't think he's going to be this top 10, top 15 talent. I just don't see it. I'm happy to be proven wrong. You guys know I've hated on him since the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just hate on the Senators.
I don't know.
But I know you hate
I just
on
remember
Sanderson.
like what everybody's disdain towards Quinn was. I was just happy that night we didn't take Sanderson. He was just the guy I didn't want. And look, he's a good player. He's already a good player. He's probably going to be a very good player. He'll probably be elite. I don't think he's at the upper echelon of the league. I don't think he's this minute-eating Norris caliber defenseman that I think some Sens fans already think he is, or that he's already going to be this season. I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he's better than Owen Power. This could end up being a really good deal for the Sens. I will acknowledge that. With the cap going up, $8 million will be the new $6 million pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
So, fine bet by the Senators. I don't think it's going to be this colossal steal of a contract where they're going to be paying this top 10 guy pennies on the dollar. That's my take. Does that satisfy you, JP?
It does. I need a little Senator slander. See them too much on Twitter, especially because Jonah follows Senator's Twitter a lot. I think it pops up on his
interact
feed.
with their tweets too much.
He
It's a
interacts with
problem.
them, and he's always sending them to us. And I don't think I'd really be upset with Senators fans, except Jonah always sends in their absurd takes because he's always following them. So that's the only reason I think they're deluded.
Senators fan? You mean delusional?
Well, they're deluded. That's a word. Yeah.
I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah. Come on, college man.
Senators fans are the new Rangers fans.
Aren't the Maple Leafs still like way over the cap? Am I wrong?
They're $13 million over.
They still haven't done anything about that.
After long-term IR, they're about 2.8, 2.9 over.
What are they going to move?
It would probably be, you know what? I don't know.
They're not going to move Brody, are they?
They might. They got to
That'd be
move.
bad for
They
them.
got to move someone
That'd
out.
be bad for
They
them.
can't.
I can't imagine they would. I don't know.
It's a
Gonna
business
be
decision at the
interesting.
end of the day.
It is. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
Muzzin is done. It's over for him.
Yep, him, Murray.
Murray is probably also done. But yeah, that's it.
Yep. But the NHL back in the swing of things in just a few days. You know, everybody's gonna be watching Red Zone on Sunday. Not me. I'm watching preseason hockey. No. I will.
That's true sicko behavior.
Don't let this devolve back into football talk.
What's the Sunday night? What's the Sunday night football game? Do you know off the top of your head?
This Sunday night?
Yep.
No.
I don't know either.
Whatever it is, it'll be like, I don't know, Chiefs and someone. I'll be watching Arizona and the Canucks play.
Oh no.
We are so close. We are from tonight. We are 3 weeks away. 3 weeks away from opening night.
Mm-hmm.
We are so close. Not so close, but we are close.
We're getting there.
This is the final stretch. 3 more days. Sabres hockey is back. The Sabre report is back. It'll be hockey season just like that. So with that, if you want to follow us on Twitter, follow us at the Sabre Report. Follow us on Instagram at the Sabre Report. Follow us on TikTok at the Sabre Report. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you want to get updates for the pod, follow us at Sabre Report Pod.
No more underscore.
No more.
Good.
We got rid of the underscore.
Thank God.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's part of the reason. I mean, when we were the Royal Report, somebody
had
the Royal Report, so we had to, add the crappy little underscore in there. So that was always annoying. But we got rid of it. We're cleaned up, slick look, and we're ready to go. So that'll wrap up this episode of the Sabre Roundtable. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you sometime next week talking Sabres preseason, and I don't know, maybe Trevor Zegras will be a Sabre by then.
Or Patrick Kane.
So with that, we'll see you guys later. Take care. Go Sabres.
Go Sabres.
Sabres.